Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Strawberry expand the syndicate into the western bluffs of the monarchy. KOTT News were on the scene immediately after the victory to get a few words from the newly crowned king. Congratulations on your victory, knocking it out in record time. I was out on the field, wasn't able to see anybody myself. Did you run into any oppositions as you bashed through the gates?
Yeah, they had a demon slotted blockchain. He 1v50 B-gate, and he almost killed all of us. So shout out to blockchain for showing up.
Well, now that you have positioned yourself as the new reigning ruler of the region, do you have any intentions for Monarch's Bluff?
We're just gonna take down some of the context stuff they left here. First he's gonna redecorate the castle, and that's about it.
Later on, KOTT News caught up with a Globo Gem personal alteration specialist and spoke with them about their fight. Congratulations on your victory here in Morningdale, holding off the Marauder successfully. They got in the gates at halftime, and with 3 minutes left, were able to put one big push onto the point, but you pushed back. How do you feel it went out there?
I think overall it was good. We could do some work on our side points, but I was a B flex boot, so we were just going, like, running around, just wiping everyone, so it felt pretty good.
Excellent. I noticed that you were able to get the gates up a couple times in there. Was there anybody who was assigned to that task specifically?
Yeah, this guy right here, Weewoo, or Wooey, he's actually one of Bob the Builder, so he did pretty well, so shout out to him.
Good job. That person who just rolled away from us?
Yep, he's Weewoo.
Looking at the weather, and the sun will cruise across the Eternum sky, hindering the Cyclopean advance today. But be on the alert after sunset as darkness envelops the island and corruption invasion forces flank 30% of the island. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of Emotional Damage attack the Zealots of Outcasts for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. Emotional Damage return to restart their offensive against the Bears of Brightwood. But have they checked the difficulty of the battle before beginning the fight? Outcast forces have set about felling timber in order to complete the repairs on the Brightwood Church. But tonight, these pious monks will put down their hammers and, well, I guess pick up their other, much larger hammers. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as Outcast forces turn up the difficulty and defeat their would-be assailants. Outcast leadership stopped to give KOTT News a brief word before heading to the lockers. Congratulations on your victory here in Brightwood, retaining the region once again, keeping off the emotional damage. How do you feel it went out there?
We played pretty well out there. It was a tough war. It was filled with some fierce competition, but all in all, felt pretty good about everybody's performance.
Indeed. I was watching over the shoulder of one of the offense on camera, and I saw that you were able to get all of your fort doors back up at one point.
Yeah, we've got some Bob the Builder types, some serious OCD repair people out there, and we take that shit pretty seriously in Outcast.
The Cyclops appear to be attacking just south of Brightwood. Are you able to get out there in a timely fashion and prevent them from getting a foothold?
We like to leave that kind of stuff up to the people, John. We rally and support where we can, but we want the community to be out there farming those NPCs.
Indeed, my friend. Well, do you have anything coming up in the near future, or do you have any expectations or ambitions of expansion?
I think we're just kind of regrouping right now. We're working on some new strategies. I'm sure you've seen some coverage about that in some of the global chats. But we've got some things planned. I think it's going to be interesting for us for the next week or two.
Quickly turning to the weather, and even though it's another perfect day for hunting down the Cyclops out there, the evening's condensing cold front along the coast will give rise to a 30% chance of corruption invasion later. 3 more submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it is cardboard. First up, the syndicate members of Pharmaceuticals assault the Covenant forces of Error.pxp for control of the barely controllable Restless Shore. Pharmaceutical forces have put themselves into 2 offensive efforts tonight, and it is unknown if they're fielding both teams entirely or calling in mercenarial forces. The not-so-bots of Error.pxp have fought with Big Pharma before, when they first appeared on the island, but now they have their own great house that they have to protect. Then, the Covenant forces of Outcasts assail the Syndicate members of Soju Gang for control of First Light and the flow of the spice. Outcast forces taking the momentum of their hold last night and carrying it into this skirmish for control of the spice and hyssop production rights of First Light. But the gang members of Soju don't take kindly to anyone interfering with their business. They're standing by in the fort of First Light to fight for the flow. In the nightcap, the Syndicate members of Pharmaceutical attack the Marauders of C+ tier Dodgers for control of the arid desert region of Brimstone Sands. Pharmaceutical forces taking on their second of 2 engagements here against the Marauders, but it is likely they'll be committing the majority of their forces on this battle. Entrenched in their fort against the cliffs of the desert, C+ tier Dodgers prepare for the sun to set, signaling the start of the evening's battle in the dunes. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as pharmaceutical forces expand the Syndicate into the eastern Restless Shore. KOTT News were on the scene and were able to secure an interview from a pharmaceutical rep. Congratulations on your victory here in Restless Shore, once again securing the shores in the name of the Syndicate. How do you feel it went out there, my friend?
Oh, I think it went really well. Thank you very much. I mean, they definitely put up a fight, which was really nice. Their decks were quite strong and annoying, which is fabulous for them. But, you know, we pulled through, and thanks to great comms by Dramanus again, it made a huge difference.
Dramanus is a great shot caller, I find. Was there anybody else who really stood out there tonight?
You know, I got to give a shout out to my Group 1, you know, Red Noob, Malcolm, Colorful Vinyl, and IUP. They did a fabulous job. First time we really played together, the 5 of us in war. So I think we came together and really won it for us.
So tell me, now that Pharmaceuticals has expanded to a second great house here on the island, do you have ambitions for future expansion?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, there are not many territories to expand into. Hopefully we'll get Brimstone tonight, and then we'll have 1 left to get. After that, who knows what's going to happen? The whole world is going to be the beautiful shade of purple. Makes it really tough to do anything else outside of that.
Do you mind if I ask you how you're experiencing the Cyclopean event this time around?
Well, you know, I'm trying to stay far away from it. I'm trying to hide behind bushes and behind trees. I really don't want to get into the middle of it. They do kind of freak me out.
Later in First Light, KOTT News caught up with a Soju Gang member to get reactions to their defense. Hey, congratulations on your victory here in First Light. Once again, Diligent Choke Management for 20 minutes wins out, proving that the Syndicate sure are smart out there. How did you see it going down?
Really well. They fight really good during point phase. They're really good at surrounding points and collapsing at a coordinated time. They had a couple good pushes into fort, but yeah, we were able to hold the points or hold the gates, and we actually got a few rebuilt a couple times, and that really helped as well.
Was there anybody on your team whose efforts really stood out tonight?
I really thought Username did a good job healing. He hasn't healed in a while, and the roster just called for a healer tonight, and he was back on that healing grind, and he is definitely not washed.
Do you have a YouTube channel or Twitch that you want to tell people about tonight?
Yeah, I make videos for YouTube. YouTube 1,000 Troops or 1,000 Troops Gaming in the search bar will get you to the channel.
A close one in the desert, but the Dodgers hold out until nightfall. We spoke with company leadership after the war. Thank you, Hibby, for allowing me to join you here in your private retreat after your successful victory here in the deserts of Brimstone Sands.
Of course, John.
I noticed they were able to get inside the gate and pushed you to the limit, but you were able to hold yet again. How are you feeling about how it went out there?
John, you know, they had a lot of mercs. They tried their best, but in the end, diligent choke management won the war.
Was there anybody tonight who really stood out?
John, everybody did a freaking amazing job tonight. We held that Brimstone 30 FPS looking territory down with our heart, John. We were the last Marauders on the map, and it just had to be held, John, at all costs.
Indeed. Continuing to plunder the relic-rich region, are we?
We are. We will take every resource we possibly can from there, as we are Marauders and don't care.
It's going to be a casual afternoon of Cyclop hunting all day long, so let's be sure to communicate where they are today. Then a slow night of intermittent corruption invasion forces in Brightwood and Cutlass Keys. No submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by Peace. But we'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as you might expect after an evening of peace. KOTT news crews took advantage of the opportunity to further investigate the Cyclopean encroachment. Negotiations for peace quickly broke down, and the Volunteer Citizens Brigade had to respond by vanquishing the Specialty Corruption Strike Force from the lands. For now. Looking at the weather for today, and all that quiet from yesterday will be carrying on until early evening, when citizens should be on the alert for a 40% chance of corruption invasion, some in regions that have commitments elsewhere on the island. Because there's 3 submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Marauders of C+ tier Dodgers assail the syndicate members of Pharmaceuticals for control of the island's primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fin. C+ tier Dodgers being selective in their offensive efforts of late, avoiding double declarations that would leave them divided. But will this new focus overcome Big Pharma? Refreshed from the night off, pharmaceutical forces stand ready in the keep as the fog of the Peat Moss Bog floats over the battlefield, setting the mood for what's sure to be a sweaty fight. Then, the Marauders of Thrust Damage assault the syndicate members of Globogym for control of the Northern Observation Post in Morningdale. The former Great House of Thrust Damage turned their attention to the rain-drenched mountain region in the north, seeking to rediscover a place that they can call home. The Serpents of Globogym have been practicing their footwork and focusing on their core exercises. But will they continue to shine as the dodgeball defenders of Morningdale? Later, the Marauders of Iron Reavers attack the syndicate members of Strawberry for control of the island's bamboo forest preserves and medicinal hot springs of Ebonscale. Iron Reavers making their second attempt to overthrow a Strawberry-controlled region. But whether it's the terrain or their own self-improvements, will it be enough to overthrow the Syndicate? The members of Strawberry enjoy the luxury of multiple regions, including the resort destination of Ebonscale. As spring approaches, tourism dollars will flow into the region if they can prevent the Marauders from ransacking it. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Marauders of almost B- tier Dodgers ransack the island's primary oil supplies in Weaver's Fin. KOTT news crews were on the scene and got a few words from Emperor Huang about the conquest. Congratulations on your victory here in Weaver Fin, becoming the primary oil barons of the island. How do you feel it went out there, my friend?
I mean, both sides played really well. I think a lot of our players definitely stepped up and improved so much recently. It's a good war.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Do you have any ambitions for further expansion now that you're in control here?
We're looking for more competition in the server, so we'll always challenge the strongest faction. Also want to, shout out to people who are staying in their own faction and not swapping to the strongest one. Shout out to Kylan for that.
Indeed, I understand you're hopeful and looking forward to somebody perhaps switching to one of the other factions to get out of purpling. Either join yellow or green, is that correct?
Yeah, either Strawberry or JDB should take this step. I mean, I know you guys are really good at the game, but like, there's no reason to just Warlock and not enjoy the best content of the war, which is war and competition. So, looking forward if any company in like JDB, Strawberry, Global Gin, Pharma to swap, will work with you all the time and just encourage the competition on the server.
Later in Morningdale, KOTT News spoke with a personal alteration specialist about their performance. Congratulations on your victory here in the northern observation post of Morningdale, once again retaining the region. In the name of the Syndicate, how'd you feel it went down out there tonight?
I thought it was a really tough war. I think if people didn't focus up like they did at the end, we might have lost it, John.
Was there anybody whose performance really outshined tonight?
I think Amaro outshined everybody today. He let us know which bow we needed to kill. Once we beat that bow, we won the war.
Is there anything else you might like to say to the citizens of Eternum?
I just needed to say one thing, John. You all laughed when we picked up Firestaff, but now we are on top. Said we wouldn't be ignored, and now we are back with a vengeance. FS Union on top.
A late-night addition by Thrust Damage split their efforts in Monarch's Bluff, where they fell to Syndicate members of Strawberry. KOTT News crews were able to catch up with Strawberry, celebrating their successful hold of 2 regions simultaneously. Congratulations both in Monarch's Bluff and in Ebonscale, holding off Marauders on both fronts. How do you feel it went down out there tonight?
I mean, yeah, we held both, so I felt like we got the best outcome we could have gotten.
Indeed. Was there anybody who really outshined on them in their performance tonight?
Probably me. I mean, like, you know, like I always do, like, fun.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, this wee-woo guy was just, I don't know, he was kind of like sitting on a turret or something.
Woo-wee, actually.
Same thing.
I'd also like to give props to the invasion people that held Everfall.
Oh, yeah? Our invasion people that held Everfall, and as well as the mercs that came out to help us, because we were double-decked. So shout out to them.
Well, you've been able to hold 2 off at a time. Do you feel confident in your ability to hold all 3 territories simultaneously if it comes to that?
Nah, that is impossible, mate.
Turning to the weather for tonight, and once again, the sun will shine on throughout the day. But look out after sunset, when corruption invasion forces will rise up across 20% of the island. 3 more lineup submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. First up, the Marauders of almost B- tier Dodgers attack the Covenant forces of Outcast for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. It's gonna take a little extra credit for the Dodgers to prove themselves passable amongst the great houses of the island, but a win tonight could get them over the hump. Outcast forces have stood their ground before the Dodgers before, and this time their druids have communed with the bears. But will they need the aid of the spirits of the woods? Then, the Covenant forces of Error.pxp assail the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for control of the secondary oil reserves of Cutlass Keys. The Zealots of Error.pxp set their waypoint to the southern shores of Cutlass Keys, but will they be able to overcome the Kitchen staff in this new setting? JDB's Kitchen were able to prevent an Error Forces break-in to the vault last week in Windsward, but will they commit as many forces to the hold of this coastal region? Meanwhile, the Marauders of Iron Reavers assault the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen staff for control of the master fishing port town of Reekwater. Iron Reavers forces making a timely attempt to bust up the Reekwater Union of Fishermen, but can they overcome the solidarity of the Syndicate? Because the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen staff stand with the local Reekwater Union of Fishermen. So keep your children at home. Things are about to get rough. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as all 3 great houses hold the line in their respective regions. KOTT news crews were on the scene all night, starting in Brightwood, as the Zealots of Outcast went out. Congratulations on your victory here in Brightwood, once again maintaining ownership of the Deep Forest, keeping the Marauders at bay. How did you feel it went down out there?
Well, John, it was a pretty hard fight. It could have went either way. It was literally down to the wire.
Well, if it could have gone either way, did they manage to push the flag any percent at all?
Well, John, they almost had it. But Kai gave me a phone call while I was sleeping in my home in Windsor, and it said, "Please, Panda, come back." I said, Rusty's there, and it's like, Rusty's ass. And I'm like, what about Whirl? He said, "You taught Whirl everything he knows." And I'm like, yeah, that's facts. That's facts, Kai.
All right, so you showed up on the scene just in time to save everybody. Was there anybody out there who might have performed diligently in aiding your efforts?
Him.
Me, myself, and I.
Him.
And what about me though?
Shout out to Sneaky, best melee, second best melee on the server. Anonigon, best bow player on the server, and Brusty, best musket on the server.
Facts.
Later in Reekwater, KOTT News caught up with a member of the kitchen staff to go over their night's activities. Congratulations on your victory both here in Reekwater and in Cutlass Keys, managing to maintain both territories simultaneously. How do you manage to work that out tonight?
So yeah, it was kind of unexpected. We weren't really expecting the double deck, but considering that we do have multiple companies, we have to do what we have to do, and we pinged the Discord and we pinged all of our soldiers, and they happened to all show up tonight, a good majority of them, and we held our two cities simultaneously.
Yes, an excellent job at doing so, I must say. Have you had the opportunity to go over VOD yet, or do you still need to get back to the tape room and take a look at how it went down for them?
I'm sure that we'll probably go over VODs later. I think they have a little bit to work on, both companies, Iron Reavers and AirPXB. Hats off to them for the war, but maybe some more practice. They could capture some points.
Indeed. Was there anybody on your team who outperformed themselves?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Riken. Riken, he takes breaks on the game, but when he comes back, it's lit to play with him. So shout out Riken.
Turning to the weather for today, and once more, the sun continues its journey across the eternum sky, keeping corruption at bay. But look out after sundown, as the full moon will draw out corrupted invasion forces in 20% of the island's coastal regions. 4 more roster submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, the Marauders of almost B- tier Dodgers assail the Syndicate members of Pharmaceuticals for control of the nearly uncontrollable Restless Shore. Marauder forces, taking advantage of their momentum over the Syndicate earlier this week in Weaver's Fin, attempt to expand their empire to the neighboring coastal region. Pharmaceutical forces are regrouping at the top of the Mud Hill as they fall back for their final stand. But will they be able to remain Kings of the Hill? Then, the Covenant forces of Outcasts assault the Syndicate members of Soju Gang for control of the island's spice and hyssop production facilities of First Light. The Zealots of Outcast return to the southern peninsula in their second attempt to dislodge the reigning spice lords of the island. But will it go better for them this time? Spring planting is in full swing for the members of Soju Gang, but they've taken some time out of their evening to defend their bastion from the Holy Crusaders. Later, the Marauders of Revert Melee Nerfs challenge the champs of Strawberry for their championship title and the right to rule over Everfall. In the green corner, hailing from parts unknown, come a scrappy crew of loosely organized Marauders who are demanding the prevention of upcoming rule adjustments for Simulated Fantasy Combat. In the purple corner, the current reigning heavyweight champions of Strawberry, who with a win tonight, will move into sole possession of second place on the all-time never fall list with 11. Meanwhile, the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen attack the Marauders of almost B- tier Dodgers for control of the arid desert region of Brimstone Sands. JDB's Kitchen taking the momentum of their double defense last night into the northern dunes of Brimstone. But will they be able to break through to the final chokes? Almost B- tier Dodgers are on the precipice of improving their GPA if they can get a win here tonight and pass the final VOD inspection. But are they ready for their big test? We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as 3 great houses fall, giving the island an entirely different look this morning. KOTT News were on the scene immediately after the fights to get reactions, first in Restless Shore. Congratulations on your victory here in Restless Shore, managing to wrap it up before the time expired. How did you feel it went down out there?
Oh, it went great, John. I mean, we beat Pharma twice now. I mean, you can only say so much about that. I'm just glad to be back in my home.
Well, was there anybody on your team who outshined in their performance tonight?
Hippie went crazy that war. He was like on insane comms. What an amazing leader we had today.
Well, gang, I don't want to keep you from your celebration. Do you intend to linger in the hamlet long, or you intend to ransack it and move on as you have been moving across the island?
We'll hold on as long as we see fit. We got a big war coming up, and we're going to get ready for that.
Later in First Light, KOTT News were able to get an interview with Covenant leadership about their fight. Congratulations on your successful capture of the Hyssop and Spice production facilities of First Light. How does it feel?
Feels pretty good, John. We're gonna farm all the hyssop.
You guys were through the fort in about 15 minutes flat. Would you care to give us your insight on how that happened?
Yeah, so John, I was basically killing some zombies out in the world, and I got a call from Kyla. Please, Panda, come help us. We need help. So I come to help win the war. And in all honesty, I have no idea what happened. I was basically changing my specs the entire time. Didn't see the war at all.
The championship bout was a snoozer as the challengers, hailing from parts unknown, hightail it back there, failing to answer the bell. As the night wound down, JDB's kitchen re-secured the desert just in time for dessert. An assigned mercenary was sent to speak on their behalf. Congratulations on your victory in Brimstone Sands, once again expanding the empire to another region. How do you feel it went down out there?
I think that was a great war, John. The Dodgers did really well on their defense. We got it right at the very end. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I noticed that with 2 minutes remaining. Do you feel that you could have pushed in earlier and took your time, or do you feel you had to push in that moment?
I think we needed to take advantage of that moment, John, just to hit at them while the spawns were weak.
Gotcha. Little respawn timer at the end. Got him, huh?
Yep.
Well, my friend, was there anybody out there who really shined in their performance tonight?
I think everybody did really well today. Shout out to my group, Dreidel, Haribo Keegan, and Furby. They did really well. Can I?
Yeah, yes. Would you like to say something?
I would actually like to say something.
By all means, what would you like to say?
You all laughed when we picked up Firestaff, but now we are on top. We said we wouldn't be ignored, and now we are back with a vengeance. FS Union, on top.
Looking at the weather for today, and it's going to be another beautiful afternoon of sunlight to battle the Cyclopean advance. Then be on the alert after sunset as the corruption invasion forces rise up across 20% of the island. Another lineup submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Syndicate members of Soju Gang assail the Marauders of 2 minutes from B- tier Dodgers for control of the island's primary oil supply in Weaver's Fin. Soju Gang recover from their defeat last night in First Light and press north into the Peat Moss Bog. But will one night's rest be enough, or will fatigue be a factor? And if a factor fatigue may be, then the Dodgers' fatigue factor may be even higher. After the emotional highs and lows of their performance last night, will they be able to focus tonight? Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.